Plug-in solar is now available in the UK, and it means that just about anyone can finally get solar and start cutting their energy bills. I'm really behind the technology, but there's one part that genuinely concerns me, and that's the plug-in part. Now some might say, well, that's the whole point of the technology, but I don't think it is. In this video, I'll explain exactly what plug-in solar is all about and how you can get even more benefit from it without plugging it in. Hi there, I'm Gary and welcome back to my channel, Gary Does Solar. I've been making solar videos for some time now, and I'm always impressed by how technology keeps on getting better and prices keep falling, which means more and more people can get involved. The latest example of that is happening in the UK today, and it's called plug-in solar. In its simplest form, it's a couple of solar panels that you mount on a shed roof or in the garden, and when the sun is shining, they generate power which is fed directly into a normal wall socket, and that can run appliances in your home, meaning that you don't have to pay for that same electricity from the grid. Plug-in solar has been available in Germany for several years now, with over 1 million registered systems, but that's not the only place in Europe. If you live in Austria, the Netherlands, France, Belgium, Switzerland or Portugal, plug-in solar is available there too. And in the USA, Utah was the first place to legalise plug-in solar, but more states have since followed. Maine, Maryland, Virginia, Colorado, Vermont, New Hampshire and Connecticut. And today marks the introduction of plug-in solar into the United Kingdom, which is why I'm making this video in fact. And before long, I think it's going to be available in most countries in the world. Plug-in solar is quite revolutionary because it means you no longer have to make a 5-figure investment into a full traditional solar and battery system in order to start saving on your energy bills. Instead, for just a few £100, euros or dollars, you can start saving money on your energy bills almost immediately with a system that could pay for itself in just 2 or 3 years. Now, as you might have guessed from the title of this video, I'm not a big fan of the plug-in aspect of this technology. There is a far better and more capable way of connecting and using these systems, and we'll talk more about that as we go through the video. First though, let's talk more about what I call entry-level plug-in solar. As we just saw, in its simplest form, this is typically 1 or 2 solar panels connected to a small microinverter, which is then plugged into a standard wall socket in the house. The microinverter converts the DC power from your solar panels into AC power that your home can use. I won't get into the difference between AC and DC power in this video, but if you'd like to know more about that, here's a video I made that people tell me is a really good explainer. Now, a typical basic system like this is available in the UK today for around £500 or less, and that will give you 2 400-watt panels and an 800-watt microinverter. That 800 figure is important. Under UK regulations and in many other countries, 800 watts is the maximum the microinverter is allowed to feed into your home through a wall socket. Now you might imagine that on a sunny day those 2 panels will generate close to 800 watts for several hours, but in reality that rarely happens. You see, generation depends on the path of the sun, the orientation and the pitch of those panels, and any shading you might have from fences, trees or neighbouring buildings. Even on a clear day, output is usually only close to 800 watts for a relatively short period around the middle of the day. And at other times it's much lower, as you can see here with this typical daily generation curve. And in winter, when the sun is lower and the days are shorter, generation drops even further. Now there's one simple way to improve things, and that's to add more solar panels. In the UK, you can connect up to 2 kilowatts of panels to an 800 watt microinverter. For example, 4 500-watt panels. The inverter will still limit the output to 800 watts, but the system will stay at that maximum for longer during the day, and you'll get noticeably better performance in winter. Just bear in mind that the panels themselves are quite large. A modern 500-watt panel is roughly 2 meters long and over 1 meter wide, so you'll need a reasonable amount of space for them in the garden or on a garage or a shed roof. Okay, so what kind of generation could you expect over a whole year with one of these plug-in solar systems? To give you an idea, you'll find an online calculator on the plug-in solar page of the Gary Does Solar website, which you can use to estimate your generation for your particular situation. Here's how it works. First, enter your location. And by the way, this utility works anywhere in the world, not just the UK. Then enter details of the solar panels and their orientation. We'll model the basic system comprising 2 400-watt panels, so that gives a total array size of 800 watts, which we'll need to express as kilowatts, so that's 0.8. We'll assume the panels face south in the garden, so that's 180 degrees on a compass, and they'll be set at a 45-degree pitch, perhaps against the house. I'll be slightly conservative on the shading, saying that the panels are shaded for around about 20% of the time when the sun is out. You can see that such a system will produce around 720 kilowatt hours of electricity over the year, much of it in the summer and less in the winter. Now I can see you're already doing the numbers. If the standard rate of electricity in the UK is say 28 pence per kilowatt hour, that's essentially 720 kilowatt hours of electricity that you no longer have to buy from the grid, which amounts to just over £200 a year. If the system costs you £500, that's a payback then of around 2.5 years, and then continued savings of £200 a year for the next 2 decades, which is the expected lifetime of the system. So that's £4,000 in today's money, assuming electricity prices stayed the same over that time. But as we've seen in the UK, over the last few years, electricity prices tend to keep rising, so your actual savings would likely be higher than that. Okay, so it's already feeling like a no-brainer, yeah? But before you stop the video and rush out and buy one of these systems, there's one really important point to consider with an entry-level plug-in solar system. In the middle of the day, when your panels are generating the most power, it's often the time when your home needs the least. Even when your panels are generating 800 watts, if your home only needs 200 watts at that moment, the other 600 watts is lost to you. That excess power flows straight back into the grid and you get no benefit from it. But there are a few ways that you can improve this though. You can shift higher energy appliances like the dishwasher, washing machine or tumble dryer to run during the middle of the day so that they soak up more of that solar generation. And air conditioning is another good example. It's becoming more and more common in the UK, and it tends to be needed the most when the sun is strongest, of course, which means it can usually absorb a lot of that daytime solar generation. Okay, I hope that gives you a good idea on what an entry-level plug-in solar system can do for you and the main considerations around that. It's certainly a great way for people who can't have a traditional solar installation on their roof to start saving money on their energy bills. But I have a real problem with plug-in solar. Let me explain. The reason why I have a problem with the technology is because in this entry-level form, you have to plug the system into a wall socket in your home. I know the official guidance states that systems compliant with the new standards are safe, and if you live in a modern home with a well-maintained electrical installation, it's probably the case. But the reality is lots of homes in the UK are quite old. They've got old wiring, mixed electrical circuits, and installations that were never designed to have power pushed back into them through a wall socket. There is, though, a much better way, and it uses the same core technology. Not only is it safer, but it also unlocks more performance. Let's take a look at it. The next level up from plug-in solar is what I'm calling wired-in solar and battery. Rather than plugging the system into a wall socket, it's properly wired into the consumer unit by an electrician. That extra step does cost a bit more, but it gives you 3 clear benefits. Firstly, it's safer. Instead of relying on a standard wall socket, which was only ever designed for appliances to draw power from, the system is properly connected through the consumer unit with appropriate protective devices, cabling and connections, all installed to proper electrical standards. Secondly, when the systems are wired in rather than plugged in, that 800 watt restriction no longer applies. That means for a little more money, you can buy a system that delivers 2 or even 3 kilowatts of power, quite a step up. And thirdly, unlike plug-in systems, a wired-in system can include battery storage, and it's this capability that really changes everything. Remember before with entry-level plug-in solar, if your system is generating 800 watts but your home only required 200 watts, the extra 600 watts was lost. This changes with wired-in solar and battery. Now the extra 600 watts is no longer lost, it's stored in the battery. And that means later on when solar generation isn't enough to cover what the home needs, the battery steps in and releases that stored energy to meet the demand. And that avoids any draw from the grid that you would otherwise have to pay for. And that means you should be able to usefully use all of the expected annual generation from your system now. Let's go back to the modelling tool again and see what the estimated generation would be for a 500 watt solar panel system. If we change 0.8 to 2, as your system is now 2 kilowatts peak, this gives you nearly 1,800 kilowatt hours over the whole year. And at 28 pence per kilowatt hour, that's a true saving of £504 per year. A wired-in solar and battery system will cost more, of course. Let's say around £2,000 for 4 panels, a 3 kilowatt inverter and a 5 kilowatt hour battery. But that gives a payback of around 4 years, followed by continued savings of around £500 a year for the next 2 decades. Roughly £10,000 at today's prices, not bad at all. And if you have space for more solar panels, you're no longer limited to the 2 kilowatt limit. In the UK, this type of installation falls under what is called G98 self-certification. That limits the inverter size to a maximum of 3.68 kilowatts, but there's no official limit on the number of solar panels you can connect. In practice, inverters typically allow an array size that's greater than the inverter capacity. Some systems even allow up to 10 500-watt panels, likely way more than most people would need or even have space for. So what would I suggest for anyone looking to get home solar but are unable to go for a full traditional solar and battery installation? Entry-level plug-in solar looks very appealing. It's relatively cheap to buy and install, you just plug it in. But I don't think it will necessarily provide a great return on that investment for all the reasons I mentioned earlier. And depending on the age of your property, it might not be as safe as you'd like it to be. I mean, by all means, spend some money on a plug-in solar system to try it out and prove to yourself that the technology works. You can always sell the kit on eBay afterwards. But I don't even think you need to do that, as there are plenty of YouTubes available showing how these systems work and also the real-world generation that they provide. Instead, I would suggest that wired-in solar and battery approach is the better way to go. Yes, it's a higher investment, but you end up with a much better payback as a result, and you have a system that can be easily expanded over time to suit your needs. So which brand would I choose? There are several good options on the market, including Hoymiles, Ecoflow and Anchor. For me though, based on everything I've seen so far, and the real-world experiences shared by my YouTuber friends and also you, the viewers, the brand I'd go for is Ecoflow. And if I were buying today, I'd be looking at the Ecoflow Stream 5000. It has a 3 kilowatt inverter and can take up to 5 kilowatts of solar input. That's enough for those 10 500-watt panels if I wanted. It also includes a built-in 5 kilowatt hour battery, which for most homes would cover a good proportion of the evening and overnight use. And if you needed more storage, you can simply add extra battery packs. Just to be clear, as with all my videos today, I don't get paid by manufacturers to promote their products or say nice things about them. I make my own judgments on products based on the information available, my own experiences and the experiences of people around me. It's important for me to stay as impartial as I can so that you can make good buying decisions. If you are interested in the Ecoflow Stream 5000 or any of the other products that they have from their extensive range, feel free to use this dedicated link. Not only will that help my channel, but the link will grant you extra discounts on many of the products they have available. You'll also find details on how to get that Ecoflow Stream 5000 at a special launch price of just £1,499, which is £300 below the regular price after the 15th of September. And with that deal, you'll also receive a free smart meter worth £159 that unlocks additional system features. Okay, just one final thing before I go then. There's one other action that you can take once you're up and running with your wired-in solar and battery system, and that will save you even more money, and that's to change from a standard electricity tariff to what's called a time of use or smart tariff. A smart tariff enables you to charge your battery overnight at a very cheap rate, and then you can use that to power your home the next day, providing greater value from the system you've purchased, even in the winter when solar generation is less. If you want to know more about that, here's a video I made recently which explains how smart tariffs work and also looks at the various smart tariffs offered by Octopus Energy, my favourite energy provider in the UK. You'll find a link in the description. I mean, it's exciting times in the world of home solar, and I hope that this video has got you interested in finding out more. What I love about plug-in solar, even though I'd prefer you to wire it in, is that it gives so many more people the chance to take control over their energy, save money on their energy bills, and help the environment. If the video has helped you, please do like and subscribe. You've no idea how much that helps the channel. And a big thank you to my Patreon members whose financial support makes all of these videos possible. Until next time then.